It began as a whisper, just a small rumor in the endless world of Hollywood gossip. Fans had heard it all before. A few years someone would claim a Pretty Woman sequel was in the works. But nothing ever came of it. Scripts would surface, producers would tease, and the idea always faded away, like a dream you could never quite hold on to. Then, suddenly, everything changed. This time it wasn't just another headline, it was confirmation. Pretty Woman 2 was finally happening. The announcement didn't come with flashy fireworks or a loud press conference. Instead, it arrived like a slow-burning fire, igniting excitement across the world. A single statement from the studio, paired with one powerful image, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere standing side by side again. The internet practically broke. Fans who grew up with the movie, along with a new generation discovering it for the first time on streaming platforms, exploded with joy. Social media turned into a festival of nostalgia. What makes this reveal so powerful is the rarity of it. Hollywood has reunited couples before, but rarely with the same magic these two bring. Julia Roberts, now a legend with decades of unforgettable roles, still carries the same spark in her smile. Richard Gere, whose calm presence and quiet charisma won over millions, brings a maturity that makes his return even more meaningful. Seeing them together again isn't just a reunion. It feels like revisiting an old photograph that somehow comes to life. Behind the scenes, the story of how this reunion happened is just as enchanting as the film itself. Both Roberts and Gere had turned down sequel offers in the past. They were protective of Pretty Woman, careful not to spoil what fans considered perfect. But according to insiders, what finally changed their minds was the scripted story that honored the first film while giving their characters a natural continuation. Instead of chasing a cash grab, the sequel is being shaped as a genuine chapter in their love story. And let's not forget Gary Marshall, the original director, who gave the world the first Pretty Woman, though he passed away in 2016. His legacy still guides the project. To honor him, the new creative team has vowed to keep the heart of the story intact. Humor, romance, and the idea that love can transform lives in ways we never expect. For the actors, stepping back into these roles isn't just about revisiting the past, it's about paying tribute to a man who believed in fairy tales. When Julia Roberts read the new script, she reportedly said it brought her to tears. Richard Gere admitted that he felt a strange sense of destiny reading it. The kind of reaction from two actors who have seen it all tells you just how meaningful this project is. It's not just another sequel, it's a love letter too. The fans who kept the story alive for more than 30 years. So here we are, living through a moment that many thought would never come. The Pretty Woman and the silver-haired businessman are stepping out of memory and back into the spotlight. The curtain is lifting, and this time, the fairy tale continues. And if you think the reveal was exciting, wait until you hear what's coming next. The plot, the twists, the future of Vivian and Edward, it's all waiting to be uncovered. The next section, we'll dive deep into the story, hints, and what fans can expect from this long-awaited sequel. Asterisk, the biggest question fans have is simple. What happens after the fairy tale ends? For over 3 decades, audiences have imagined what became of Vivian and Edward after that unforgettable fire escape scene. Did they live happily ever after? Did their differences pull them apart? Or did life, with all its unpredictability, rewrite their love story in ways none of us expected? Now, Pretty Woman 2 finally gives us an answer. While the studio has been careful to protect the script, a few details have slipped into the spotlight. The sequel isn't about recreating the past, it's about facing the present, as Vivian once. The spirited outsider, with dreams bigger than her world, has grown into a woman of power and independence. No longer the girl who waited for a rescue, she is now someone who has built a life on her own terms. Edward, the polished businessman with walls around his heart, has also transformed. Time has humbled him, softened his edges, and left him searching for something more meaningful than wealth. The story brings them back together after years apart, not in a glamorous hotel suite or a Hollywood-style coincidence, but in a way that feels raw and real. Rumors suggest that the sequel will explore themes of love that matures with age, love that has endured heartbreak, separation, and change. It's not about first glances anymore. It's about second chances. There are whispers of a conflict. That drives the story forward. A decision that could either bring them closer than ever before or finally tear them apart. Some insiders hint at a family element, possibly involving children or the next generation, which adds new layers to the story. Imagine Vivian, once judged and underestimated, now serving as a mentor figure or even a mother who has to explain her past. Imagine Edward, once obsessed with control, learning to let go as life takes turns he never expected. What makes these hints so powerful is that they align perfectly with what fans want. A story that respects the magic of the original, but doesn't repeat it. Pretty Woman 2 isn't set in the neon glow of 1990s Beverly Hills. It's set in the present, with characters who have lived, lost, and grown. That makes their reunion not just exciting, but believable. And let's be honest, romantic comedies rarely get sequels that work. Too often, they chase the laughs without honoring the heart. But early word suggests this script understands what made Pretty Woman unforgettable, the balance between humor and heartbreak, between fantasy and reality. We'll see Vivian and Edward in moments that make us laugh, moments that make us ache, and moments that remind us why their story mattered in the first place, of course. Hollywood loves to keep secrets, and there are still mysteries surrounding the plot. Will there be callbacks to the most iconic moments of the first film? Will Vivian's red dress and Edward's limousine make a symbolic return? Will the fire escape become more than just a memory? The creative team has stayed quiet, leaving fans to speculate, but that silence only builds anticipation. What we do know is this: Pretty Woman 2 won't just be a love story between two people. It will be a story about time, about how love changes, and about how the past always finds a way of shaping the future. That's what makes it more than a sequel. It's a continuation of a legend. And just when fans thought they couldn't be more excited, the studio dropped one more surprise: a confirmed release date. In the next section, we'll uncover exactly when the film is hitting theaters, and why that date might make history all over again. Asterisk. Every great love story has its moment of destiny, the day when everything comes full circle. For fans of Pretty Woman, that moment has finally arrived. After years of waiting, speculating, and replaying the original film again and again, the sequel doesn't just exist in whispers anymore. It has a date, carved into the calendar like a promise that the magic is real and it's coming back. The reveal of the release date didn't feel like a simple announcement. It felt like a cultural event. For weeks, fans had been holding their breath, scrolling through social media, scanning entertainment blogs, desperate for one detail. Then, in a single post shared across platforms, the answer arrived. A bold poster, drenched in shades of red and gold, with the words that shook the internet: Pretty Woman 2, release date. And just like that, the countdown began. The timing is no accident. Hollywood studios know how to play with nostalgia, but this isn't just clever marketing. It's strategic, almost poetic. The chosen release window aligns with romance season, when the air itself feels like a reminder of love stories. A time when theaters glow with the energy of date nights, laughter, and hand-holding. For many, watching Pretty Woman 2 won't just be about seeing a movie. It will be an event, shared experience. Parents who first fell in love with the original will now sit beside grown children, passing the torch of a classic fairy tale reimagined. Theaters are already preparing for what insiders are calling one of the most anticipated romantic comebacks in decades. Advanced ticketing campaigns, special double feature screenings of the 1990 classic paired with the sequel, and even luxury premiere events are rumored. Streaming giants too are circling, because when Pretty Woman returns, it doesn't just belong to one generation. It belongs to all of them. But beyond the logistics, the date means something deeper. It marks the moment Vivian and Edward step out of memory and into the present. It's the day the world gets to rediscover what love looks like after years of distance, after change, after growth. For Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, it's more than a comeback. It's a second chapter written in real time. The announcement video itself was a masterpiece of simplicity. No dialogue, no spoilers, just music and imagery. The iconic jewelry box snapping shut, the skyline of Beverly Hills, fading into the present day, and finally, the reveal of two shadows walking side by side. Then, the words, "True love never fades." Pretty Woman 2, release date. Within hours, hashtags trended globally. Memes, fan edits, and reaction videos flooded every corner of the internet, and that's the power of a date. It transforms dreams into reality. It gives fans something to hold on to, something to circle on their calendars, something to count down to day by day. It's no longer someday, it's now set in stone. So when the curtain finally rises on that date, theaters will fill, screens will glow, and the world will pause for just a moment. Because after more than 30 years, a fairy tale that once felt complete is opening its doors again. And this time, the magic will belong to a new chapter. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, the release date is only the beginning of a storm. Fan reactions, cultural buzz, and the wave of excitement that's spreading across the globe deserve a chapter of their own. In the next section, we'll dive into the voices of the fans, the celebrations online, and the way this sequel is already shaping the culture before it even premieres. Asterisk, the moment the words Pretty Woman 2 and a confirmed release date hit the world, it was as if the internet collectively gasped. Within minutes, timelines lit up, hashtags trended, and fans who had carried the first film in their hearts for decades suddenly had a reason to celebrate. This wasn't just movie news. It felt like a reunion, a chance to revisit a love story. That defined an era. Across social media, reactions poured in. Longtime fans shared personal stories. Couples who had their first date watching Pretty Woman in 1990. Parents who introduced their children to the film on VHS or DVD, and even young adults who had only just discovered Vivian and Edward through streaming platforms. One tweet captured the mood perfectly. "I watched Pretty Woman with my mom when I was 12. Now, we'll be watching the sequel together. 30 years later. This is more than a movie. It's family history." Nostalgia became the beating heart of the conversation. Clips from the original film resurfaced everywhere. Vivian's shopping spree, Edward snapping the jewelry box, the fire escape finale. Memes compared Julia Roberts' radiant smile then and now, showing that some magic never fades. TikTok edits layer the old film's soundtrack over teaser posters for the sequel, creating a bridge between generations. For Gen Z and millennials, who grew up hearing about the movie but never lived through its cultural takeover, this was their chance to experience the hype in real time. But what made the buzz truly unique was its tone. Too often, sequels are met with skepticism, eye rolls, and questions about whether Hollywood is out of ideas. Not here. Instead, the reaction was overwhelmingly hopeful, even protective. Fans weren't asking, "Why are they making this?" They were saying, "Finally." That collective sigh of relief came from the trust Julia Roberts and Richard Gere have built over decades. Their reunion isn't a gimmick, it's a gift. Even celebrities joined the chorus. Fellow actors, directors, and musicians publicly cheered the announcement. Some admitted they had watched Pretty Woman so many times they could recite entire scenes. Entertainment journalists called it the romantic comeback of the century. Film critics who normally treat sequels with suspicion acknowledged that this project feels different. It's almost sacred. And then there were the trending hashtags. Hashtag Pretty Woman 2. Hashtag Vivian and Edward and hashtag Love Never Fades all dominated platforms for days. Fan art poured in digital paintings of Julia and Richard side by side. Imagine posters of Vivian in her red dress, standing in modern-day Beverly Hills. Some fans even staged Pretty Woman cosplay meets in excitement, dressing as their favorite characters and posting photos with signs that read, "See you at the sequel." What's striking is how the excitement has crossed cultural and generational boundaries. In Europe, theaters announced plans for themed release nights. In Asia, streaming services reported a spike in Pretty Woman rewatch numbers the very week the sequel was confirmed. In Latin America, fans flooded Instagram with messages about how the original film gave them hope and love, even during hard times. This isn't just American nostalgia, it's global. The The cultural buzz has already created a ripple effect in Hollywood. So other studios are scrambling to find their own lost love stories to revive. But it's clear that Pretty Woman 2 holds a unique place. It's not just reviving a franchise, it's reviving a feeling. A kind of storytelling that has grown rare in today's cinema landscape. And so, as the release date inches closer, the noise only grows louder. The film hasn't even premiered yet, but its impact is already undeniable. Fans aren't just waiting, they're celebrating, creating, and counting the days. The cultural storm is here, and it's only going to get bigger. But every celebration must lead to a conclusion. And in the final section, we'll tie it all together: the legacy, the reunion, the anticipation, and ask the ultimate question: will you be there to witness the fairy tale continue? Asterisk. And so, the story that began on a Beverly Hills sidewalk more than 30 years ago is ready to take its next breath. What started as a chance encounter between a businessman and a dreamer has grown into a legend that refuses to fade. With Pretty Woman 2, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are not just stepping into roles. They're stepping into history, carrying with them the weight of memory, the glow of nostalgia, and the promise of something new. For fans, this isn't simply about watching another film. It's about returning to a place in time where love felt infinite and possibilities were endless. It's about hearing those first few notes of the soundtrack and feeling your chest tighten with recognition. It's about looking at the screen and realizing that even after decades, the spark is still alive. Stories like this are rare. Sequels may come and go, but few can promise the magic of a fairy tale rediscovered. What makes this moment so powerful is that it belongs to everyone. To those who sat in theaters in 1990, wide-eyed and hopeful. To those who discovered the VHS tucked into a family collection. To the new generation streaming it for the first time and wondering what all the fuss was about until they feel it for themselves. This sequel is a bridge across time, connecting past and present in a way few films ever can. But now, the question shifts from the screen to you. When the lights dim and the curtain rises, will you be there? Will you step back into Vivian and Edward's world, ready to laugh, to cry, to believe once more in the kind of love that doesn't just survive but transforms? This isn't just a movie night, it's an event. A chance to be part of a cultural moment that people will talk about for years to come. So here's the invitation. Mark the date. Circle it on your calendar. Set the reminder on your phone. Tell a friend. Call your mother. Grab the hand of someone you love and say, "We're going." Because when the theater doors open and that first frame glows on the screen, you'll want to feel it with everyone else, the gasps, the laughter, the applause. The magic that only happens when a story this iconic comes back to life. And as the credits roll on this chapter of anticipation, remember, fairy tales never really end. They wait quietly, tucked away in the hearts of those who believe, until one day they rise again. Pretty Woman 2 is proof of that. Proof that love stories can grow, evolve, and still shine brighter than ever. Now, the only thing left is your choice. Will you be there to witness it? Drop your answer in the comments below. Tell us your memories of the first Pretty Woman. Tell us who you'll be watching the sequel with, and tell us why this film matters to you. Because your story, your voice, is part of this legacy too. Like this video if the fairy tale still gives you chills. Share it with someone who once believed in love and could use a reminder that it never fades. And subscribe if you want to walk with us through every step of this journey, because this is just the beginning. The countdown has started, the doors are opening, and the magic is waiting. Love never fades. Legends never die, and fairy tales, they always find their way back. Some stories don't just end, they echo. Pretty Woman was never just a film. It became a cultural memory, a symbol of hope wrapped in humor, heartbreak, and transformation. With Pretty Woman 2, that echo grows, louder, reminding us that love stories are not frozen in time. They evolve, grow older, just as we do, and in doing so, they become even more meaningful. Think about it. When Vivian first stepped into Edward's limousine, audiences saw the possibility of a dream. But now, decades later, The sequel asks a new question: what happens after the dream? Can love still shine after years of distance, after scars, after choices that reshaped two lives? This isn't just fiction. It mirrors our own realities. Many of us have wondered about the one that got away, or asked ourselves if second chances are real. Watching Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, Return isn't simply about nostalgia. It's about holding a mirror to our own hearts. The legacy of Pretty Woman has always been bigger than the screen. It taught us that people can surprise us, that love doesn't come wrapped in the package we expect, that sometimes the most extraordinary stories are born from the most ordinary encounters. The sequel promises to carry that same message, but with the weight of time added to it.
Oh.
That's why it resonates so powerfully. It's not just a love story anymore. It's a life story. Beyond the release date, beyond the red carpets and premieres, lies something far more important: memory making. Families will create new traditions around the sequel, just as they did with the original. Couples will go on dates, friends will gather for watch parties, and generations will sit together, passing down a story that refuses to age. A film becomes timeless, not when it's made, but when it keeps being lived-on. That's exactly what's happening here, already. Whispers suggest that the studio may not stop here. If Pretty Woman strikes the cultural chord, it's expected. 2, it could spark conversations about spin-offs, prequels, or even anthology.